Hi, my name's Laura, and I'm from a small town in eastern Iowa, and today I'm going to be freeze drying some green onions that I found at Costco for relatively cheap. And I've got some salsa, my husband's favorite recipe and how he likes it, that I'm going to throw together as well. So I hope you stay and watch, and I'm going to get started on my green onions. So I picked these up from Costco, and they were like $5 for this whole bag, and they were already trimmed, so I went ahead and gave them a quick wash. Got any debris out of it that I could, and I'm going to cut off these bulb ends, and I will show you how I'm going to regrow them. I debated on like what cuts I wanted to make for the freeze dryer, so I decided on little slivers like I'm doing here. But then I also thought larger chunks would be good for like a broth-based soup, like a, I don't know, like a pho or something like that. And then I am going to do some whole. So I'm pretty excited to reconstitute in specific the whole ones. But so yeah, I'm just going to go through and fill my trays with all of this. What kind of projects are you guys working on? My garden is pretty much done. I pulled 2 of my pumpkins. I still have one out there that's working, along with a couple honey nut squash I pulled in, but a couple left working. My green beans are toast for the year. I did pull all of my Anaheim pepper plants, and I have like 4 grocery bags full of Anaheim peppers, so that needs to be a project. For now, they're taking over my fridge. And then yeah, my tomatoes were kind of a dud this year, but I did get some, so that's good. But yeah, what are you guys working on? This is all I have planned for this week, but who knows what next week's gonna bring and what kind of projects I get myself into. These green onions were making my eyes water so bad. They were very, very spicy and potent, so I kept having to disappear and wash my hands, and at one time I had to go outside just to get some fresh air. I was unable to open one of the windows I really needed to in the kitchen because my neighbor was burning, and I didn't really want to smell that. So I got them all to fit on my 5 trays. I have a medium freeze dryer, so I have 5 trays, and I'm going to just put these in. I've already got it pre-chilling. It's done its 15 minutes of cool down. So I was a little concerned that this would be stinky and stink my house up, but then I remembered this person I know through another connection said that when she did her onions, she put a slice of bread. So luckily I had the heel of a loaf, and you'll see me put that on one of these trays here. And I will say that helped tremendously. There was no odor. There was no odor when I opened it up, nothing. So if you're gonna do something stinky like onions or garlic, make sure to at least use 1 slice of bread. So now that I've got those going, this is all I do. I put the root end down. I'm just using some plastic containers, and I just want to make sure that they're upright, not going to sit in the water other than the base. Ended up having a lot, so I need to get another container out rather. And it's just that simple. I'm going to take a little bit of water, put it at the bottom, and bam, you got it. So now I'm moving on to salsa. This is the 10-pound box I got from Kelowna, and I did have about 4 or 5 that were just too mushy and bad, so those are gone. And then I did, as you can tell, I had to cut some bad parts off of some of these other ones. So I'm gonna use my handy dandy chopper because I do not feel like chopping all these myself. So yeah, I'm just gonna rock this out, and I did end up saving, I think it was 4, maybe 5 tomatoes in the fridge to use like later this week for fresh. And this is a pretty petite dice. It's just how we prefer it. Actually, I prefer it more restaurant style, more like blended, whereas my husband likes the chunks. So you'll see here I keep moving my chopper onto different bowls. This one it came on is all distorted and it just doesn't sit very well. Here you'll see that I end up finding actually a Rubbermaid that fit it perfectly, so I threw this bottom away, and I think it'll go a lot easier here in the future. This was a rather messy project. As you can tell, I destroyed my shirt. I should have had my apron on, but by the time I remembered to put it on, it was too late. But my husband was very happy, so the mess and the cleanup was all worth it. As you can see, I've got my Caitlin Clark towel down. Yes, I am from Iowa, so we love our Caitlin Clark, and this was the first one I grabbed, so representing her today. Okay, after all that chopping, I got 3 half-gallon jars. So now I need to chop onions, and I will save you the hassle of watching me. So I cut up 4 massive onions. My husband is outside doing yard work, and so I'm gonna just put each individual ingredient for his salsa in the fridge, and when he comes in I will throw it together because he knows his ratios and how he likes it, and I just let him boss me around. But I do have some of these jalapenos. These were the last ones out of my gardens. They're a little small, but I'm gonna get these chopped up as well. And I did not feel like pulling the seeds and ribs out because they were so small. I felt like it needed the extra spiciness anyways. So I'm just cutting the stem part off, and then I'm going to also use my chopper for this too, because then it's already out, it's already dirty, and I don't have to worry about getting the oils on my fingers and then accidentally getting them on Oliver. Is anyone else trying to get last minute yard work done before we have snow? In the past, we have gotten snow on Halloween. This year we've also already had our first frost by now, and we are not anywhere close. So I haven't even put my garlic in the garden yet. So I don't know when we'll get snow, but leaves are starting to fall. And there's my jalapenos. So all this will go in the fridge. And now my husband's out of the yard inside, and he is going to tell me what he wants for ratios. And I am just going to start off with one of these half-gallon jars of tomatoes, and they had sat for a little bit, so they were kind of difficult to get out. So I've got 8 cups of diced tomatoes, and I'm gonna start off with his direction doing 2 cups of onions, and I'll stir that around and let him look at it. And he just told me that it was too red, so we're adding 1 more cup of onions. So 8 cups of diced tomatoes and 3 cups of onions, and he liked that. So he opted to add all of the jalapenos. There was probably maybe just shy of a half a cup there. So it might be a little spicy, but that's what he wanted, that's what he's gonna get. So I just stirred this all together, and I did taste it and it was really good, so that was exciting. I did get out some of my freeze-dried jalapenos just in case he wanted more, but he was perfectly fine with the amount in there already. So I did salt it, and then I'm adding some cilantro that I had just air dried. So I'm pulling it off its stem and adding that. We do really like cilantro. If you don't like it, leave it out. And stirring this up, and I think my husband was already looking for the chips when I was doing this, but it's always best if you let it sit just a little bit, just a little bit. So it looks really good, and I can't see it very well, but I am going to put it back into my half-gallon jar. And then I also had to get out a quart jar. So I'm not canning these. These are strictly for him to eat fresh and enjoy before, I guess, we get snow. So I'll show you here in a minute. There we go. They look so good. Some people might call this a pico, but we eat it as a salsa. So now my green onions are done. It is the next morning. They were done about 10 hours ago, but mom duty, you know. So here they are. I'm gonna pull these out and we will start packaging them. So I decided to store this all in my mason jars instead of Mylar bags, because I feel like I'll end up going through this within the next, I would guess, 6 to 8 months between soup season and then early spring with like cowboy caviar and stuff like that. I foresee it going pretty quick. So I'm just putting the different sized cuts, if you will, into each jar, and the tool I have there on the upper left is my vacuum sealer jar attachment thing. So it's gonna suck all the air out and create a vacuum seal, so we don't have to worry about things going bad. You could put a oxygen absorber in each jar. I don't do that. I'm gonna go through it fast enough. It's not a big deal. So I am having to smush these ones in. I didn't feel like going and getting another jar out. I am trying to work as quickly as I can so that nothing has a chance to wick that moisture back in. Sometimes with herbs it happens really fast, so I'm just trying to go as fast as I possibly can. And for my whole pieces, if you will, I'm gonna use a half-gallon jar, and I opted to just stack them all together and kind of put them all in at once. I might regret that later when I want to pull 1 or 2 out to reconstitute, but I won't. Future Laura will deal with that then. But here's that piece of bread that absorbed all the onion smell, and it's dry too, so throw that away, and that served its purpose well. And here's a look at my final product. Really happy with these. I won't have to buy green onions for, at least 6 to 8 months. So that's nice. We don't use a ton of them anyways. Plus, I've got the ones growing in the window, so I'll be able to do this once more, hopefully. I do put a ring on just as an extra safety precaution for myself. So I'll get those put in the basement. And here's a look at what we did. I've got Jake's salsa. I imagine he'll get into that today for sure. And then my beautiful green onions. So thanks for joining me. I hope everyone has a wonderful week.